There I
start to get too hot, and then I start like getting flushes, and I'm like, can't sit still, and I'm like, get me out of here. Why did I do this?
This is my life.
Yeah.
A cold bath.
I think it's the longest. No, they kept it warm.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. Everyone from crew was also wearing nice clothing, attire. They got told to like wear like, nice shirts and stuff like that. So it really did feel like a real celebration.
There is one sacrifice you will have to make. Your family. What is the love in the face of society?
I've had quite enough of the demands of society.
Whatever you choose, you must live with it forever.
Obviously, we have to start talking about the tub scene, don't we?
Yeah.
We have to. I feel like that scene has been so hyped up by book fans, and I feel like every season there's always those scenes that book fans are so keen to see translated to screen.
Yeah.
Did that add any level of pressure to it, and how was it filming those scenes?
No, I mean, there are loads of scenes in that are from the book that actually make it in the show this season. So it just became part of one other of those scenes that you have to sort of
do.
Yeah, but a lot of the it's funny, isn't it? A lot of the stuff of that is just design. Like I remember sort of like walking into Benedict's bedroom at my cottage and thinking like, oh, this is exactly how I pictured it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of like, I guess that's nice for the fans. But we just have to get on with it, don't we?
Just stay true to the story.
Yeah.
I think as nice as it is for fans to be so excited to see a certain scene, like that's not our job. Our job is to be as honest and truthful to what these characters need at that time, and share the love. But we're not there to please people. We're actually there to take them on a different journey, perhaps, and surprise them and entertain them perhaps a different way. But
you have to sort of put that thing, I think, at bay a little bit. But it was a long bath, 7 hours.
A cold bath.
I think it's the longest. No, they kept it warm.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what's the longest. I don't think I've been in a bath for more than a quarter of an hour, and suddenly there I was.
I start to get too hot, and then I start like getting flushes, and I'm like, can't sit still, and I'm like, get me out of here. Why did I do this?
This is my life.
Yeah.
Slowly turning into a prude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, we were past prude stage.
Oh, absolutely.
We were pickled.
Fermented.
But how did that scene, like, in terms of the journey of Sophie and Benedict, what does that scene mean and spell for their relationship going forward? Because I feel like it's a very intimate scene. It's also like after a lot of stuff has gone down and Sophie's just dealing with a lot.
Well, I think it's the first time Sophie feels taken care of. She spent so much of her life giving to other people and taking care of other people. It's the first time that she actually gets to let her hair down and be taken care of, and I think that's really beautiful and poetic, and also the first time where she can actually just enjoy being in the company of someone else. And
it's like their little bubble, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they'd have that nice line right back in season 1 where it's all about water. It's like, you always like shallow waters. Can you really wade out deep with me? I just find it nice, like symbolically, that they end up in a little bath together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like that.
It's cute. It's cute. And obviously, since the release of part 1, Yerin, I feel like the Bridgerton fandom has welcomed you in with open arms. How has it felt to you to kind of hear that feedback?
It's what I dreamed about, and the reason why I moved to Korea was because I didn't see myself represented in these love stories. I never saw myself as a person who was desirable, who was able to be a romantic leading lady, and for people to be able to project themselves and see that on screen, and to make them, it's amazing how much TV I feel like can represent characters and the way that they're seen in society. And so for women to see that and think that they're desirable as well, I think is so powerful. And like, that's what art can do. It can help change perspective, and it can help shift something internally that society has made you feel otherwise. So to be able to do that, I think, is a dream, and I plan to keep doing that, and hopefully I'm not the last. Definitely won't be the last. And so, and we get to a point where it doesn't have to be a conversation anymore, and everyone from every different background can see themselves in all different kinds of roles, and even Katie as being the antagonist, I think is really refreshing to see as well. So,
And obviously this season we're seeing quite a tonal shift for the series. We're navigating grief a lot this season. How does the grief of like Francesca, and also how it resonates in the Bridgerton family, how does that resonate within Sophie and Benedict's own dynamic, and how does it also manifest itself in the Bridgerton household as well?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I love the fact that we get to see Bridgerton in a whole new register. I mean, yeah, I think like when someone dies like that, like it can be a real wake-up call. Like it's obviously terrifying and obviously very sad, but sometimes it can be the thing that really makes you get real and wake up to what life, like, you know, death in a way is sort of like the opposite of life, but it's also the thing that makes life so special. And I think if we live forever, nothing would be special.
Yeah.
You know, so actually I think it's a really good jolt, like a big wake-up call. So I think in terms of their relationship, it well, certainly from Benedict's perspective, I think it just, and it's something that he's been running away from probably since his dad died. You know, like he sort of developed this way of not committing fully to life in any sort of meaningful way for a few years. And I do think that's probably come from, you know, having like lost his dad and watch his mum lose, you know, the person she loved. And you're like, wow, that's a scary bet to make if you're probably going to lose the person at some point. But I think in that moment you realise like, oh yeah, it is a scary bet to make, but you have to make it. And actually, if you do make it, you sort of win over time in a weird kind of way, because like, you know, love does last forever, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it does sort of beat death, but I think you need to feel, and you need to go there. I think I'm glad the show goes there, and that is the instigator for them sort of finally really opening up to each other, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. And also this season we see the return of Jonathan and Simone.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a lovely like reunion moment.
Yeah.
But initially he's not that pleased with Benedict. Can you kind of tell me a bit about navigating that dynamic, and also how was it to be reunited with Jonathan on set?
Well, I mean, it's great because he brings that history of the show. You know, you forget, you know, the show's been going for 4 or 5 years, so he brings that with him. And also I think I love the scenes this season because they feel like a real continuation of what's been going on between them two for the last few seasons. Like there's always this sort of sense of like the older brother trying to manage the younger brother sort of accepting that often the older brother is right, but also sometimes wanting to be like, yeah, but let me do my thing. And so it's a really nicely drawn and true relationship, I think, of two brothers. And like that thing of when someone leaves and then comes back and they treat you like you haven't changed, and you're like, no, stop patronizing me. I know what I'm doing this time. Like, I think that's a really nice, I think it's cool.
Yeah, it is, and it's relatable.
Yeah.
I guess just finally, we've also got the surprise wedding scene at the end, which is so beautiful for so many reasons. How did it feel to film that and also to end the series on such a high? But also, yeah, and I feel like Sophie, it's so heartwarming to see all of her fellow, like, staff members there with her as well.
Yeah, it was so nice, and for Alfie to walk her down the aisle, I think it also is a message of family is the people who you make it to be, and she's really struggled to, I think, let people in, and actually, love is all around you, and you just have to be willing to see it and not be blind to it. But yeah, it's so funny when you put on a wedding dress and you're like, I should be wearing this in my real life, and I'm here getting married. But to have like Jonathan and Simone there as well, and just like all the people there to celebrate our love story, it was just like the perfect way to, I think, end the series. And everyone from crew was also wearing nice clothing, attire. They got told to like wear like, you know, nice shirts and stuff like that. So it really did feel like a real celebration. So it's really sweet.
This part of the season, I honestly loved it. It obviously deals in a complete different emotion than what we're used to. We're really heavy on the grief and the sadness. Can you tell me a bit about how you approached dealing with grief in Bridgerton, and how you went about adapting those scenes from the book for the series, and kind of keeping that Bridgerton edge to things whilst grounding it in the grief and sadness that Francesca's experiencing?
You know, grief in these books and on this show, it's something that I love about the show. I think even before we get to John's death, obviously Violet has lost Edmund, and these are all children who have experienced losing their father. And I think it informs a lot about who they are and how they see themselves. In the writer's room, when we talked about grief, there are a lot of us in the writers' room, including myself, who have experienced big loss in our lives. And we were really interested in a discussion around what doesn't get shown about grief. Like, what is the truth about grief? Which I think is basically that it never really looks like what you think it will look like, and that it's different for every person. So when we had our conversation about Francesca, it was not, okay, these are the 5 stages of grief that we have to hit. This is what everyone goes through. It's like, no, how would this specific person handle this situation? And, as we see, she's going into overdrive, trying to control the details of the funeral and trying not to let herself process her emotions, which, by the way, was cultural to the 1800s. You really weren't supposed to express your emotions. So Fran would have been sort of more in keeping with the way people would grieve. But of course it's Bridgerton, and we don't want to ever let it get so dark that people can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think for me, the way that plays out in episode 7 is seeing the way in which the family comes together for Francesca. I find it incredibly touching, the way every sibling has a different way of trying to be there for Fran. It's what those of us who have been through big loss wish we could have had when we went through that experience.
No, definitely. And I feel like that those scenes in particular were some of my favorites. We obviously also see her shifting dynamic with Michaela this season. I think so many fans are going to approach this part of the season thinking this will be the blossoming buds of their own love story. But instead, we're really seeing how they're both kind of circling each other in this grief. Can you tell me a bit about that and how you went about devising their dynamic for this part of the season?
Yeah. I think something I love about When He Was Wicked, the book that, Fran's story is based on, is the friendship between, in the case of the book, Michael and Francesca. And obviously there's this little moment of frisson when Michaela and Fran first meet, but I think for Fran, she doesn't really have a frame of reference to know what that meant. And I think she's also not a character who's very self-aware or who looks deeply internally. So it really is for these two about developing a platonic friendship. And that scene where Michaela and Fran and John are all sitting doing that jigsaw, and all 3 of them are great friends. It's one of my favorite scenes of their storyline, just seeing that they could get to that really beautiful place of acceptance.
And obviously this season is all about Benedict and Sophie, and we have some really, really lovely and touching moments in this part of the season. One of my favorites that I know will resonate for so many queer fans of the show as well was when Benedict is telling Sophie that he has fallen in love with men previously. I feel like her lack of reaction was really kind of poignant in that moment as well. Can you tell me a bit about how you went about ensuring you were striking the right tone with that conversation so it resonates with so many fans as well?
It's really nice to hear you say that. Yeah, I think, for those of us who identify as queer and are attracted to multiple genders, no matter who we end up with, we will always identify as queer. It's a part of our identity. And for Benedict to tell Sophie every part of himself and be completely embraced and loved for who he is, that's the only form of true love. Any version of love where you are hiding a part of yourself or not being accepted for a part of yourself, that wouldn't be the happily ever after that we wanted for Ben and Sophie. And I think there's reciprocity with Benedict knowing about Sophie's past and being like, I don't care, I love you and I accept you. So I felt like it was a beautiful moment for the 2 of them to see, acknowledge, and accept each other.
And it was really beautiful. Obviously, this season, we also see Queen Charlotte and Lady Danbury kind of navigating their own friendship. I found also their storyline really touching as well in the kind of infantile way of friendship and how it rose its head with those 2. We're obviously seeing Queen Charlotte having to kind of admit defeat in a way and just let Lady Danbury go. How did you go about kind of ensuring that we struck that really lovely final note with the pair of them? And is this the last we're going to be seeing of Lady Danbury?
Absolutely not. You will be seeing much more of Lady Danbury. She has a major role to play in season 5, but it felt important to us to shake up the dynamic and allow, Alice to now kind of step into more of the service role with the Queen and to allow Lady Danbury to really be the Queen's peer, at least in a friendship sense. I think with that storyline, these two have so many years of history, as we established on the spinoff. And I think there are a lot of beautiful big speeches this season, including between the two of them. But what I really wanted to see from them at the end was just for them to laugh and to remember at the end of the day, they're just girls, we're all just girls. They're just squirrels, and they have that like love and acceptance for each other. And laughter, I think, is the most equalizing medicine. When we can laugh together, it takes away the lines that divide us. So I thought, that made a perfect ending for their story.
Yeah, and one of my other favorite parts of this whole season, one of my favorite arcs, has been Lady Violet and watching her blossoming love story with Marcus. Obviously, it ends on quite a sad note with them, but then I feel like it had like a note of empowerment in that it's kind of her being like, I'm used to being a wife. I don't really want that right now. Is that how you went into writing that final note for her and Marcus?
Yeah, I love the chemistry between them, and it's been so fun to see people reacting to I Am the Tea. But it also felt too early for Violet, when this is the first person she's dated since her husband died, to, get back into a marriage. I think she does have some self-discovery to do, and it is quite empowering, and I'm excited for her to go on that journey over the next couple seasons.
And we see in the finale that she's talking to Benedict about how she was as a younger person and how actually she sees a lot of herself and her younger years in Benedict.
Yeah.
Is that kind of teasing up a potential Lady Violet spin-off by any chance?
Maybe it's my way of being like, please, let's do a spin-off. I would so love a Young Violet spin-off. I think that's up to Shonda, and I'm so focused on the hopeful 8 seasons that we have that I don't have my head in that, but I would watch the hell out of a Young Violet spin-off for sure.
I would too.
Yeah.
And obviously we also have Lady Whistledown, Penelope drama going on. She's also kind of retiring from Lady Whistledown, but we see the final reveal that someone is still writing Lady Whistledown. It really reminded me of those early seasons, of that kind of mystery element of the series. Was it really important to you to bring that back into Bridgerton? And do you know who is writing Lady Whistledown now?
Shonda and I and my writers all know who Whistledown is, and we've been writing to that. But that was what was really exciting for us, is to let Penelope move on to a next chapter as a novelist, in her romance with Colin, etc. But I think, once we revealed that Penelope was Whistledown at the end of season 1, and especially now that she's come out publicly at the end of season 3, the stakes of it, we lost a bit of them in season 4. And it was really fun telling the story of her having to face some accountability with the people she's written about. But it's also so fun now to have like red herrings and clues and have no one know, because it's not from the books at this point. So
I love that. So it's kind of going a bit rogue.
Yeah, we're going a bit rogue.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And obviously I feel like with the last season, obviously you said that for this season, for season 4, it would take 2 years between the seasons. And I feel like it was something that garnered a lot of negative fan reaction, being like, why are we waiting so long?
Yeah.
What's your kind of reaction to that? And are you kind of planning there to be a 2-year gap between all seasons going forward?
We're never planning for a 2-year gap. And I will say, I knew when I said that I was under-promising with the hope of over-delivering. And I think we have done that with season 4. I think there's only been a year and a half, actually, between season 3 and 4. And we are on track with season 5 so far, fingers crossed, to either meet or match that year and a half mark. So we're always trying to keep the trains going faster and faster.